Many thanks for joining us on today's edition of the Market Report on ADBN Television. My name is Adefolayan Olamilekun. On today's edition, we'll be explaining the relevance of information in shaping economic policy in Nigeria. Although we have a two-part interview, the second part of the interview will be looking at Nigerian macroeconomic environment. Meanwhile, the first interview, we are joined by Professor Oluwole O Durodolu, all the way in Kwara State. A very good day to you.
Good afternoon, sir.
All right, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be here.
All right, sir. So, first and foremost, when we talk about relevance of information in shaping economic policy in Nigeria, and you as an information scientist, what does it really tell us when government policy lack the basic ingredients when it comes to about informing people or bringing out the necessary information that Nigerians need to understand? So, what is your assessment of the environment of Nigerian government information dissemination so far?
Well, I think information is very, very important for the development of the growth of any economy. Most importantly, when we look at our population, for instance, in 1960, when we got independence, the population of Nigeria was 42 million. The population of Nigeria in 1960 was 42 million. The Britain, the country that colonized us, has a population of 55 million. Today, the population of Britain is 69 million. Meanwhile, Nigeria is 235 million, which means we have overgrown our economic benefits. And then it's a major problem now for the country. Now, the strength of our economy can no longer cope with the population that we have. And then the reason is because people are not information literate. For instance, why is there a population explosion? Saudi Arabia is an Islamic nation, and the population of those who are involved in polygamous marriages in Saudi Arabia is 5%. In Nigeria, is 28%, which is extremely high. Now, if an average Nigerian is information literate, he will be able to manage himself even at a personal level before we now begin to blame government for various problems. Another major problem that we have is lack of control urbanization. For instance, urban growth in Nigeria is spreading at 5.4%, which is extremely very high. It means if we are not careful, we are going to get to a point where there will no longer be land for us to farm. And the other one is environmental disaster that we are facing right now. As a result of environmental disaster in the Zaire, the spread of desertification of our environment and the rest of it has led to problem of insecurity in the country, to the point that there is usual clash between farmers and herders. And unless we find a workable solution to this problem, it's likely going to consume the country. We can, as a country of 235 million people, we can no longer rely on importation of food to cater for our environment. So if we have an information literate society, everybody will be able to manage themselves, even at a family level, before we now begin to blame government for almost all our problems. So that's one of my points.
Very interesting point, Prof. Now, just recently, I think just last Saturday, 17th of May, the World Telecom and Information Day was celebrated. And one of the key aspects of that celebration is to create awareness around information, particularly the information literacy. But a lot of Nigerians will still want to understand what is this information literacy all about. Can you help us to, demystify the concept of information literacy so that Nigerians and our viewers can understand the concept?
Now, information literacy, of course, as we know, information is the fifth factor of production in the 21st century. Anybody that is uninformed is automatically deformed. And for somebody to be a functional citizen under a democratic dispensation, you need to be informed, to have access to quality information. And unfortunately for us now, when you ask an average citizen where they source for their information, they go to Google. Unfortunately, 65% of information they find on Google, they are inaccurate. So that's a serious problem. And it's only when we have informed society that we can unleash our economic potential. For instance, I had a meeting, sometimes ago with one of the ambassadors, in a foreign country. All of us were Nigerians. We are all discussing about the problems in the country. And at the end of that meeting, the only white man that's among us just said that I will be traveling to your country next week to go and pick up my mining license. So it means this man is much more informed, even about my own country, even than me. The guy said, I will be going to Oyo State. There's a lithium in Oyo State. How come we are sitting on our own portion of diamond and we don't know? So it means we have information deficiency, in our country. And unless we find solution to it, people will continue to be disgruntled. Exactly. And they will have opportunity and they will never know how to utilize it. So that's my take on that.
All right, Prof. Well, on that aspect of this information literacy, particularly as the World Telecom and Information Day was celebrated last week, Saturday, and one of the other aspects that they brought out in terms of understanding what information is all about, particularly the digital age that we are, they were able to highlight that in this present condition of the global world telecom as well as information society, gender issue is still very, very relevant and quite very important that we tackle. So before I go into the details of our discussion today, because of what they said that particular day and because of what they are celebrating in regards to the World Telecom and Information Day, what is your perspective about gender equality or bridging the gap of gender in Nigerian information system?
Now, the most important thing is that gender issue is not a problem about women. It's a problem about value system. It's a problem about the global problem. Now, we now have high population of femicide where women are being killed unnecessarily. And then is a problem in our society that we also need to deal with. If people are well informed, they will know that in relationship, in gender relationship, there should be proper communication between male and female. And just because you are more stronger than the woman doesn't mean you should take advantage of the fellow. So this information literacy is all encompassing and it should be incorporated into every aspect of our life. From the time we are young to the time we are old. So women are approximately 50% of the tenants of this world, and they should not be deprived of information because it's like depriving 50% of the world, information that will make them grow, that will make them to become a functional citizen of a society. So the issue of gender disparity in terms of access to information must be addressed frontally.
Now, Prof, let's now get down to the bulk of our discussion. First and foremost, what is your assessment of Nigerian economic policy information? All this while we normally have Minister of Information, we have Commissioner of Information at state level, we even have Supervisory Commissioner for Information at local government level. But a lot of Nigerians will still have the verdict that they don't get to know more about government policy, particularly economic policy. Let me give you one illustration. When the president came up and said he's going to remove fuel subsidy, a lot of disorderly information came out on the impact, on the benefit. But later on, we begin to get some information from government. But even with that, Nigerian society, Nigerian citizens are already gone with the wing of the information they receive, either at the beer parlor level or within community level that they are discussing and the rest of them. So what's your own assessment of Nigerian government economic policy information going forward?
Now, the major problem between Nigeria government and the citizen is usually the problem of trust. Whenever government say anything, people always believe that whatever they say, no, it's for them, it's not for us. So it's a major problem, and we must find a way to bridge that gap. And in bridging the gap, every sector of our society must be involved in it. For instance, the issue of fuel subsidy, many people don't really know. The government they believe that once subsidy is removed, it will translate into cheaper fuel. They don't really know. For instance, until recently, when I finished my master's in the University of Ibadan, I just calculated it recently. I noticed that I paid about $30 to have a master's degree in Nigeria. Meanwhile, when I went, travel out of the country for my PhD, even for accommodation alone, I pay about 2 million naira. So what we really need is for us to create social safety nets, in our society where everybody will be secured. You don't need higher salary to live as a functional member of the society. we need a situation whereby we will have a comprehensive health insurance, in the countries, so that whenever people are having any medical challenges, they don't have to be begging relative to give them money. If they commit a particular portion of their salary every month into health insurance, so that health insurance organization will now be able to meet their health needs. Now, the same thing with education. Now, good thing we have a situation whereby we have a student loan. Now, these are things we need to do in every aspect of our economy. Where again, people complain of hunger and the rest of it. We need to get everybody involved, in agricultural production, so that at least we all be well fed in the country. According to the adage, once hunger is minus your problem, it means your problem is half solved. So that's my take on that, sir.
All right. Now let's also look at another argument that the World Telecommunication and Information Day, Society Day, came up and said that the world must tackle. They said information disorder is one of the biggest problems of economic policy around the world. And in Nigerian case, we have seen that. But from your own perspective, what is this information disorder and how does it affect government economic policy?
Now, when government come up with a policy, people don't believe those policies, it means there is lack of trust. And then definitely it will affect economic production. For instance, I remember the Anchor Borrowers Program when government released 1.08 trillion naira to 4.3 participants. Many people complain that they are not aware of this policy, and as a result of it, we now have a situation whereby those who are dominating our agricultural sector in the country are the Indians, the Lebanese, the Chinese. So when this government policy, people don't believe that anything government said is true. So unless we find a situation to deal with this problem of information disorder, now it will continue to hamper our economic growth.
Now, I know most of our viewers will also want to know in a simple form, when you talk about information disorder, what does it really connote?
Now, just like every aspect of disorderliness, when the information is full of untrue information, misleading information, fake information that is designed to manipulate people, and propaganda, then that is information disorderliness.
Now, let's now take a cue and ask ourselves, particularly you being my guest this morning on the show, have you seen any effort of the government to correct or address information disorder, particularly in the economic policy of the government? Because I will give you a typical example. When federal government said they are going to unify the Naira exchange, they discovered that there are about 11 platforms where Nigerians normally go and exchange their money. But right now, according to the government, they have been able to bring it to 2 levels. But at that point in time, a lot of people saw that avenue as very, very, one avenue that government just want to chase people out of business. A lot of manufacturer association members came out and said, no, they don't want this policy, they don't want that policy. But as we speak right now, we are seeing orderliness in that regard. But what I'm trying to ask you is that, do you see any other effort government is pushing out so that this information disorder will not discourage and bring that lack of trust on citizens against the government?
Now, I think to some extent, government has done a lot in that regard. We have legislation and regulatory body like NCC, Nigerian Communication Commission. We have a National Broadcasting Commission. They have issued out guidelines called fake news on online platform. And then the effort also, I think we have a legislation now to deal with the issue of cyber crime, such as Cyber Crime Act of 2015, and it includes so that it called falsehood and hate speech online. We know the effect of what hate speech can cause. We know several riots in Nigeria that have taken place as a result of people getting access to the wrong information and they fly with it. The Lekki massacre, all those, and so on and so forth. So government should now channel effort towards serious campaign, serious media campaign, so that all the ministries, all the parastatals, all the religious bodies should be involved in telling people the right kind of information, and to now collaborate with various tech platforms in the country, like Facebook, like Twitter, and the rest of it, so that people can begin to now have access to the right information. But unfortunately, one of the major problems is now that how do you deal with censorship? Against the background of a democratic society where we have, as in the democratic environment, you are free to express your mind the way you want. Now, how do we deal with the issue of censorship? So that's another major problem. And then, and again, how do you begin to crack down on media? Those are in the profession where they are supposed to make information available. How do you begin to crack down on them if they have done anything wrong? So now that's the area where it's going to be very difficult for government to handle. And lack of coordinated strategy. So there's a need for information literacy policy and to now centralize digital education curriculum to equip citizens, especially the youth, on how they can be skillful information users. Now, another one is poor fact-checking infrastructure. We need to now begin to establish certain infrastructure that will fact-check information so that whenever you hear anything, you go there and fact-check whether the information is authentic or not. And then there's also no digital literacy. In our country, we all know that, of course, there's digital divide. In some part of the country, they don't have access to internet access. And in fact, we now even see certain organizations in the country that campaign actively against education. So when you now see those things, it's going to be a lot difficult for the government. So that's my take on that.
Exactly. Now, I really love your submission in that regard, but I would like to ask, Prof, how can we deepen information literacy among our people? Because it is very key. If our people are not literate when it comes to government information, economic policy information, it could also be a counterproductive going forward. So how can we deepen information literacy among Nigerians?
Now, I've said right from the beginning that one of the major problems of government citizen interaction is the lack of trust. Nigerians don't believe their government. Whatever they say they are not saying their own. No, they don't believe. So now government is now begin to now make serious effort to ensure that there is a cordial relationship between citizen and government, so that whenever government says something, they will be able to understand, and they now begin to use simple, clear, and accessible English, like not using technical jargon when you are communicating to the people. When you use technical jargon, they will say no, they are just saying their own. So again, translate some of this policy into local languages, into pidgin language, into Hausa, Igbo, Yoruba, pidgin English, and that will reach the wider audience, Ibibio, and such kind of language. And to now use multi-channel approach, multi-channel strategy, that is use the regular media, that is ensure prime time coverage on the radio, television, and the rest of it. And then digital media like Twitter, government should also be participant, in what goes on the social media space. And then, so that's just it. So government should be much more visible. People believe that the government in Nigeria is too far away from the people. So, and it's a major challenge.
Prof, having said all this and having recommend all this kind of policy, areas governing to tackle this information literacy to the government, I hope information literacy will not be too expensive for them to cover, because we have seen that in recent time, budget for education is always not meeting up with the desire of the people. So I hope information literacy campaign or engagement will not be too expensive for government to engage in.
Well, ability of government to allow information to flow to the people should be as free as the oxygen we breathe in. It should be, we must create a platform where people can access information through the library, which is a very authentic place. As I have said before, when people need information, they'll say, go and Google it or go and ask AI. But of course, according to the research carried out recently, 65% of the information we find on Google, they are inaccurate, which means we still need these authentic sources, like going to the library, reading newspaper, because when you read newspaper, when you listen to media, like we are communicating to the people right now, if you have done anything wrong, you have address. For many people on social media, they don't have address. So we should ensure that we have a situation whereby people don't necessarily have to go to those who will disinform them, before they can have access to information. So it doesn't passing information across to the people shouldn't be something expensive. It can be incorporated into every aspect of our life. The church, the mosque, the traditional institution, they must be all involved. So these are information that we must pass across through every by every means. Because for us to have a democracy that is functional, we need to also have citizens that are well informed.
Now, Prof, let me take you back to World Telecommunication and Information Day. One of the things they also argue, they call on third world countries like Nigeria, specifically Nigerians are part of the third world country. They call on us that we need to also spend money in digital information, particularly ensuring that our people are having access to digital platforms, as you highly mentioned earlier. But we know how expensive this could be. But I want to find out from you, from your own angle as an information scientist, how can government make this digital asset, digital information, very, very affordable, very, very accessible to Nigerians?
Now, it means as we said, subsidy is gone. Now, it means we now have to subsidize those platforms that will grant people access to information, like making internet access available in all the library, in all the universities, in every area, even in bus stop, in supermarkets. People can go there and access information through authentic sources. And then government will now begin to clamp down on those sources that begin to promote misinformation. Because if we have a citizen that are misinformed about their own country, they will not be able to take advantage of the economic benefits that the country has to offer.
Very interesting. Prof, are you still there? Okay, I think we have
yes, please, I'm here.
Okay, now let's go to the next aspect of our discussion, talking about finding solutions and providing practical empirical solutions to some of the issues we have raised. Number one, right now, as I'm speaking with you right now, CBN is having the MPC meeting, and by 2 o'clock this afternoon, they'll be releasing the information of the outcome of their meeting. That means the communique will be released. In your own understanding of information science and someone who is very practical in that regard, how do you expect CBN information after an MPC meeting to be driven down to Nigerians? Because at most time, this information from CBN always become an elitist kind of information, that it is only the elite that get it. The people don't even know anything about it. And one of the critical aspects of that information that CBN will be bringing out is that they're going to be talking about interest rate of how you can borrow money from the bank. They also be talking about how much bank can keep in their vault. But these are the information Nigerians need. But from your own angle as information scientist, how do you expect CBN to carry out this information to the grassroots and to all Nigerians to understand what the CBN is doing?
Now, to ensure that the Monetary Policy Committee, as they said, MPC, communicate to the people in a way that they will understand about certain problem that is bedeviling not only Nigeria, but the whole of humanity, the climate problem, inflation, unemployment, economic uncertainty, and all the other problems. And I think we have said it before, that in the communication, government should not say, they should use less of technical jargons to explain it in a very way that is simple, that ordinary Nigerians can understand and relate with, so that there will not be ambiguity, so that people will not say, okay, because many Nigerians don't know that if you have mining license now, you can access loan. So a bank will want to finance it, you have access to mining license. Many Nigerians don't know that, and that's why you see Indians, you see Chinese, you see foreigners taking advantage of those things because they have better information. And of course, Nigerians will continue to grumble, not knowing how to take advantage of the resources that they have. So they should now use multi-dimensional approach, traditional media, digital media, and then CBN also need to have a website that is active where people can go and confirm any government policy, from financial experts. So they should also use visual infographic way to explain what is happening, so that people can know. They can even have cartoons to relate with the youth. Any kind of platform that people can readily relate with. So those are what government needs to do as urgently as possible, and to now continue to have press conferences all over the country, and then entertain questions from people and give them accurate answer. When people hear from the horse's mouth in their own language, they find it more believable. than to continue to hear jargon from experts, economic experts. So, and again, to engage financial influencers and influencers and economists, in all the local governments, and they should also continue to intensify organizing town hall meetings and stakeholder engagement, so that people can have access to this information. And we also have in our society, visually impaired people, we should also have a way to communicate with them in a way, using sign language, so that nobody in the society will be left behind. Right? And the government needs to also have feedback mechanism. You can open a portal, question and answer session to get a feedback, whether people to measure the temperature, to know how people are relating with the information that is being passed across. So that's my take on it. And again, policy impact simulation. That is, government needs to have a situation whereby, for instance, if you are a farmer, they will communicate with you that if you are a farmer, they say this is the government policy for you. For family, this is the government policy as related to the price of food. If you are into SMS, these are how you can borrow and things like that, so that people will begin to relate directly with government policy, and they will know that the government policy is designed to favor them.
Prof, exactly. I think you have given us one of the finest, talking about empirical solutions to some of the ways that Nigerian government can tackle, information disorder, build up information literacy in Nigeria, and also with this we can have a better understanding of government economic policy in Nigeria. Thank you so much for joining me on the show today.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be here.
All right, sir. So enjoy the rest of your day over there in Ilorin. All right.